The following episode of the Carnival of Randomness is sponsored by an important message to you, the people, from Upsitnik and Associates. Every day there are forces that are taking from you, stealing from you. Your money, your time, your freedom. Immense faceless corporations, banks, credit card companies, insurance providers, government agencies, this list goes on and on. When you are under attack and facing crisis, turn to us, Upsitnik and Associates, attorneys for you, the people. When every day becomes a battle, we can advise and assist. We have been advocates for 40 years. Email us through upsitnikslaw.com or call us at 1-866-391-3299 or reach out to us through Upsitnik and Associates on Facebook for a prompt, no obligation communication and consultation. Don't be pushed around.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a chilly episode of Carnival of Randomness, because this is January and it's Rochester, and it's come. It's really come. But one thing in Rochester, as we've always said, is there's such a diversity of things and talented people who seem like they do everything except for rock climbing because they're afraid of it. I had to dig that in because of our talk. But we're actually talking about, we're going to have a event next week on the 25th, and we're actually going to we'll have this out for you, and you should go to it. And it's put together, it's another sort of not a tribute concert, but an homage to one of our favorites. And you can't really parody this show, I don't think, is how would you parody Carnival of Randomness? But it's about Weird Al Yanokic, and we have sort of as our guest host here, Patrick.
Hello.
And we have Zach, sort of, and me, and putting us all together is our great friend Vicky.
Hello.
Who doesn't know what UHF is because you pronounce you.
I know. This is so early for me right now.
You're the one who wanted 10 o'clock.
I know. I was like, the earlier the better. Let's get it out of the way. UHF, yes. I have not seen it yet, I will admit. And it's really bad. But I should see it this week. And I have a friend who's actually force-feeding me.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow. Yeah.
I own it. And
Yeah.
no, because I remember, because it came out in 89, so I was 7.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was not.
But this was the days of the actual video store when you could walk in and there was the tapes and you could see the displays.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how we found some movies. Like, oh, the cover looks interesting, and that's how we found UHF.
Yeah.
And probably in 1991
and the thing
or
for
so.
me is I had a job at Mr. G's as dishwashing, and it turned out that the guy who owned it was a money launderer for the mob, and it got closed. And he would come in, he would just be Mr. G. But the point I made is the one guy who was a cook there, his name was Tom, but we called him Weird Al because he looked exactly like Weird Al.
He must have pulled so many ladies.
Oh, my God.
And he did.
Those accordion
And then I
groupies.
always think of course, my connection to Weird Al. His lawyer was like somebody Bermuda Schwartz.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. John Bermuda Schwartz is the drummer.
But as always, because you're our guest, I mean, you've been here before, but tell us a little about yourself. And how
About
you,
myself?
Yeah.
I play music, horribly. And
No, you're the best with like freaking
Really talk yourself up.
I play music somewhat decent.
She's going for the undersell,
And-
so people are really impressed.
So I'm a somewhat decent musician. I do art, and I've done dance ever since I can remember. But I've been wanting to host a bunch of shows that are different and not like the same crap that's
what
been
they would
floating
call
around.
a polymath. That's which I always screw that word up. It's like some octopus in ads.
Oh, yeah.
But no, it's somebody who does all kinds of different things. It's like Patrick, I know, used to do ballet as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. What most people call, what I call ballet is kind of tromping around in my underwear. But it's pretty.
Now, how like
Horrible.
in terms of ballet? I've had friends like my one friend
I
did
don't know.
ballet. My
threw that
good
at me.
friend Kathy from college, she did it. She had to give it up by like when she was like 20 or 21 because her
Yeah.
ankles went out.
Yeah, the lifespan of a ballerina is literally until like 25, and then you're
They
done.
die at
Like,
25. That's
and
horrible.
then
my
you
God.
explode.
Oh,
It's
Jesus.
like wow.
Your feet just fall off.
They got to put them out to pasture.
Well, because when you think about it, they want dancers to start at age 5, which, I mean, the Russians must have invented that age out of nowhere because they're crazy.
Yeah.
So and then they put you on point by the age of 13 at latest. That's like
Well, there's a
old.
big difference, I guess, between the French school of ballet and the Russian school of ballet.
Oh,
I guess
yes,
it's a big difference.
Well, the Russians, it's much more intense, and you drink vodka while you do it. So it's, or at least I did when I was older.
I do go, I do every year. I
did
do
when I
get
was
tickets
5.
every time Nazareth tells their ballet, the Roxy, like
Yes,
Sleeping
yes.
Beauty, all these. I do go every
Yes,
year.
I do love watching it. I don't do it nearly as much, but I like that I still have.
They
that
did
foundation.
Cinderella where they did it so funny, and the guys were dressed as, it was just. It was done great, but I look at the talent of these people, and I've been to
Yes,
the Bolshoi, and I love the sets
wow.
because one thing I used to do for, is I used to see all putting the sets together. It's fantastic, and everything, but it's really
yeah.
tough, and it's like a good thing to challenge yourself
Yeah,
with.
it is definitely a challenge. I always say it's like the Russians' way of creating like secret soldiers because like it's
You
gotta
might
be.
not.
Oh no!
That's- yeah.
If we say
I don't know.
if we say some magic word, you're going to kill us all
Oh,
in
no.
here.
All right, I won't say the word Russian.
I've seen the trailer for Black Widow, and you see some children dancing.
Red
so I'm pretty sure
Sparrow
it's-
or
Red Sparrow is the same. Yeah, it's
Are
the
those
same.
dudes like who were in the Teen Titans who just get set off by the word that like
Yeah.
happy suburban
no.
family? And also, let's go kill everybody. But the thing for me for Weird Al Yankovic is I discovered him when I was a little boy, which was like back before we had cars. But on Sunday nights, me and my friends would always tune in on MJQ, and they would have Rockline, all these shit, but they had Dr.
I was gonna say
Demento.
Dr.
Which
Demento,
every
that's how a
boy
lot of
was like
people find out
one of
about
those
Weird
great
Al.
learning experiences. And who was there but this guy called Weird Al Yankovic?
Yep.
And I think, what is it, like he would do parody. But the thing about doing his parodies is, I think this is like one of the toughest genres to do anything and to make it done right.
Well, then you have to ask all the original musicians.
No, actually, I found out
that's the thing.
you don't have to.
If it's
No.
parody,
No,
no.
if it's a
What?
Because it's parody.
The legal definition
Yeah.
for parody is it is not copyright infringement. He did it out of a courtesy.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he didn't want to burn any bridges.
Because
with
for
Because
the
example-
artist.
he wanted to do a Prince cover.
Yeah,
and he was
Prince
like,
would
hell
never-
no.
Well, Prince
Prince would never let
Prince,
you.
Yes.
Prince's lawyer actually sent Weird Al a telegram because they were going to be at an award show together, and he was not permitted to make eye contact with Prince. He was not allowed
Prince
to
had
look
his
in his
issues. I think
general
Prince is very
direction.
talented, but he has issues for some
yeah.
things.
We
And then
should
Gothic
do a show
Toad, of
about
course,
Prince
would
at
not
some
allow
point.
one because it's Gothic Toad. But
Well, yeah, but they are,
Well, he
enigmas
did Michael
themselves.
Jackson's.
Oh, Michael Jackson
he
loved it when he
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
except he didn't want him to change that. What was the one song that really meant a lot to Michael?
Oh,
he didn't want him to parody that.
Man
so
in the
Weird Al.
Mirror, maybe? Or,
No, it was like one of like
It wasn't bad because they do fat.
No, he did Bad and he did Eat It.
yeah.
Yeah. He did- yeah.
But no, I did hear that. There was
Yeah,
a
there
song
was
that
another
he was like,
song,
don't touch that song. Yeah.
Jackson asked him not to, and he, did because they actually got along.
Yeah. He had some stories about how just weird it was hanging around Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Not in a sinister way, I'm sure, but
Just because he's so odd. Because it was,
Yeah.
I don't think Michael Jackson could function in the real world. He had to
No,
create
he-
his own.
he-
world.
Think about how
absolutely
he got
couldn't.
brought up and everything.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just sort
Well, that's
of-
all he knows.
That's
you
a
know,
that's a
like-
whole other show we can do too.
Like you tell him to get a normal job, and he'll be like, "What?"
you never
No, he
did.
was. I saw a documentary one time where they closed Harrah's for him so he could just go in and shop. And he's like, "I'll take this. I'll take
Well,
this."
yeah, because it was
I'll
worth
take
it to
this."
close it for a guy like him because he'd
Yeah.
buy more than
He would,
your
yeah.
customers would.
Wow.
Yeah. Plus,
It's
it would
Michael
be-
Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is.
But
okay.
there was, most of the people Weird Al dealt with, they loved it when he would
Yeah.
do it.
And
then a
There was
lot of
a
musicians-
couple that said no.
Yeah.
I know a lot of musicians also said that was like they showed they made it. When
Yeah.
they got Weird Al parodied.
Oh yeah. No, after a while, it was just like that was if Weird Al wanted to do your song, you knew you made it.
And I know, like in terms of like, you would think like a band like Nirvana, they'd be all serious. They loved it.
Oh yeah.
No, the only thing they were disappointed about was that they were hoping it would be about food because all of the best songs.
Yeah,
are
they had,
about food.
and he said
Right.
that he did that. He sounded like marbles coming out of his mouth because you can't understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
it's like, well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
going to be about how no one can understand your lyrics. And they were like, okay, that's fair.
But I did think like one of the ones I find very, very funny, and I'll laugh when I see the video is Amish Paradise.
Yeah,
and I
that
thought
was-
that was it Cooley or whatever, so they got pissed.
No,
at
what
him or
happened
something.
was
Yeah, well-
Weird Al got permission
Yes,
from
he
his
did.
label.
Yeah.
Or from Coolio, or from the label, and then Coolio went and said, "I didn't give no permission. This is,
Yeah.
And then later, Coolio realized, like, yeah, I did not handle that properly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like, that
So
was,
he was just
like,
yeah,
I
was
lost
kinda-
a lot of money and a lot of fans.
Yeah, a lot of
As
people
I walk
were.
in the valley where I harvest my grain, I look at my wife and I see she's very plain. That's
Yeah.
okay for an Amish like me.
I just remember the one scene where he's like churning butter. Or somebody's churning butter.
Yeah.
He's like doing the butter, but that's the
Yeah.
thing about Weird Al is he's always been very clean.
Yes.
Except,
Oh,
like
Oh, yeah.
little
Well, yeah.
connotation like that with the butter. He sees like the Amish woman go by, and he's
Yeah.
with the butter, and then they have those Amish like breaking the records. And stuff.
Yeah, well, and that's from what I understand, that's kind of him. He's
Does he
he's
come up with those ideas mostly?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Everything that,
Yeah.
everything
Well, the
that
Bob
does.
Dylan cover was like the most genius.
Yeah, he
I'm
does
like, holy
all of
crap.
it. That's why
Yeah.
all the musicians that he does, like, are just blown away by
Wow.
how talented he is to write it, but also to perform it.
Yeah.
I saw I was watching on YouTube one time, there was a behind the scenes of him recording something. But the thing is just like, you'd think, oh, behind the scenes of watching Weird Al record must be really funny. It's really not. It's just very professional. It's like, okay, I need you to, take that up, just with love. And he's just consummate professional. He's like doing these ridiculous things. Like, okay, stop, play that back.
Now go back to the
look
fart
for that.
noise.
I need a little bit more of this, just like any other musician. But
I would say, like, for example, I'll pick a song
years
out,
of
like the
experience.
Jurassic Park parody, which is MacArthur Park.
Oh, that's
take,
good.
take that song and imagine that is MacArthur Park.
Yeah.
It's just that Jurassic Park, the way he
and the
does
lyrics
it.
are just as serious as the regular song, which is also ridiculous.
Which to me is the worst lyrics I've ever heard in a song. I've got a cake I cannot bake in the
Yeah. Maybe someone else wrote that one. I don't know.
That
I don't know
was-
who
He was
wrote it.
hired
Richard
to-
Harris.
Richard
It was a big hit
Harris-
for Richard Harris.
Yeah, but I don't.
But
I
he
don't
didn't write it. But it's got some of the worst. I've always said I pin that
disco
down as the
version
worst.
is the
We
best.
should do a version of it.
Oh, make it
And
better
then Donna,
or worse
Donna
than
Summer
that.
did a version of it, a disco
Yeah,
version.
and
Yes.
But it's got the dumbest lyrics I've ever heard in a song. Like I'll never. Well, okay, you lost the recipe. Look on Google, dude.
One thing I was really impressed
see
at,
who
like
wrote
his
it.
band, his live band has been mostly the same lineup for like.
Yeah, he's had the same band
Okay,
that he
I'm
recorded.
lost here, guys. Who do you know? Who the members of his
I
band?
actually
are?
don't know. all the
I know
members.
John Bermuda Schwartz.
Vicky.
Shut up.
But I was like looking at the timeline.
Oh, sorry, I was looking at MacArthur Park
And I'm
now.
like, wow, he's kept most of them around. Surprisingly, like how,
Yeah, I
that's
think
very rare
it's
for
pretty
a
much
band,
been the
live
same band. Yeah. Yeah.
I actually don't know.
Because the
I
one
mean,
thing
I
I
know-
was thinking of that came into my head is if he has like guest musicians come on to play even on their own parody.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, Dave Grohl played drums on the Nirvana thing.
Wow.
And actually, that was the first album of his I remember, was the one where they parodied Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
See, I don't remember
early
his early
90s.
albums, but I remember his Dr. Demento, like another one rides the
Right.
bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I got on to the running with
Yeah,
scissors when I
That's
was
the one you
younger.
got
I
on.
was like,
Now, when did you first discover him and everything?
I was in middle school and my brother had it and I stole it from him. So I was like, who's this guy who looks like Slash but in like a tracksuit in this album? And I ended up listening to it and I was like,
Was that the
crap.
one with Amish
Saga-
Paradise on? Oh, no,
No.
the
Saga
Saga Begins.
It's
is
Saga
got that.
Begins, yeah,
And I
that
liked
was-
that song so much because I
know,
was such a huge Star Wars fan. I still am, but I was like, oh my god, this song is awesome. And then I saw the music video and I was like,
I think
it's even better.
I heard even George Lucas liked it.
He did.
Oh,
It
no,
was
he
like,
did.
I
yeah.
tell people instead of going to see a Phantom Menace, just listen to the song.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So-
like sums it up.
So his original band that's been with him the whole time are three guys: Steve J, who's bass, banjo, vocals, ethnic percussion; John Bermuda Schwartz, drums, percussion, and vocals; and Jim West, guitar, banjo, mandolin, and vocals.
Yeah.
And then he added Ruben Vediera, who's a keyboard and vocalist. But the main three guys have been with him
Choir has been
since the
same.
beginning.
Yeah. And I'm like, how does he do it? Like, maybe
mean,
they're just
they're-
really good buddies, or
Yeah, I
like,
think,
maybe they have a contract. I don't know.
They probably might. They probably may have started that way, but they probably became friends.
Well,
Yeah.
and you got to consider too these guys are super talented musicians because they can do all the
Everything.
different styles of these, and they do them dead on.
Sometimes in the same song when they do those medleys. Like
Oh
his,
yeah,
yeah.
the medleys were
his
yeah.
polka medleys are insane.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and
yeah.
he's an amazing accordionist, and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, and that is not an easy instrument to play.
Oh,
And like
no,
my
no.
thing is like I've seen a lot of his live shows. I mean, I haven't seen him live. I want to.
Yeah, I would love to see him live, too.
I could have met him, and I regret
wish.
this one. No, literally, I got
You
a
met
call.
everybody. How did you not meet him?
I got a call from my friend who was at the casino. It was the people from the 101st, and I guess they got a call to come down to come on stage when he did the Saga Begins.
Oh yeah.
And it was one of those days, I don't know what it was, if it was snowy, and I never went down there to meet him.
Man.
Well, I had friends that went to see him, and they were, staying in I think they were staying in like the same hotel, and they get in the elevator, and then they're in the elevator, and all of a sudden, here comes Weird Al in the elevator. It's just them and Weird Al and maybe a couple other, but they're just like, he's just like,
like, what do you say to?
Yeah, he was just like, it's like anything else. It's like, I don't want to bother the famous person, but at the same time, I wanted to. And he was just like, they said, "Oh, huge fans are," and he's
just very genuine.
Yeah, and what everybody, the hands down, everybody says the nicest guy, very nice, very genial. There's a story about him, how he became friends with Tom Lennon. They were in the same like home improvement store like one day in L.A. and they were both looking at like carpet swatches or paint or whatever. And he goes, "Oh my God, you're Weird Al Yankovic," and he goes, "Can I be your best friend?" And Weird Al was like, "Sure," and that's how they became friends. Tom Lennon asked if I could be your best friend as a lark, and then they exchanged phone numbers. Their families are friends. They hang out. And
how
just like
people are like that. Like the late Neil Peart, was obviously very missed. I guess what he would do. I've read all of his books, and he was not nasty. He was just a guy who was
just a
shy
very private
and
person.
The one musician I sent him a book. I thought he'd liked it because he liked people to send a book. I didn't want anything. I just said, thank you for the music and everything. But what he would do a lot of times is, I guess, if people came up to him and said, like, you're Neil Peart, but you come up, he'd say, "No, I'm not."
No, I'm not.
Or he'd be okay, he'd sign something, but then he'd always go, "Okay, it's fine, I'll sign something." But they'll come back, "Oh, can we have a picture?" And he's like, "Eh." So he would a lot of times just say, "No, I'm not." But like when you look at a guy that looks like Weird Al, and I'm sure like if he came up, how can you tell? It's like,
well, and he's maintained that same hair since the beginning of his career.
I mean,
like,
it's,
or even late
it's just
70s.
gotten longer.
How old is he now? He's like,
he's got to be in his 60s.
Got to be in his
because I listened. This was like around 1980.
Hold on, go back to the research.
My goodness, we're doing research.
Because when did he come on Dr. Demento? Early 80s or was it late 70s?
Late 70s.
So what he had
he
done
would have to be in his 60s with
is in the late 70s he started sending tapes to. He is 60 years old. 60 years old. Okay. October 23rd, 1959 is his date of birth.
Oh, there you go. So October 23rd. Wish Weird Al a happy birthday.
He is married. Has a daughter. He started sending tapes into Dr. Demento in like the late 70s. The first song he sent him never aired, though you can find it. It's called Belvedere Cruisin', and it was about his family's car,
the
Plymouth Belvedere station wagon. And it's not great. It's okay. Like but you can tell. It was his first song, and he's just talking about cruising around in this dopey station wagon, and then the next one he sent in was Another One Rides a Bus, which was was early '80s.
I think there was It's Still Billy Joel to Me. There's one called It's Still Billy Joel to Me, where it's still rock and roll to me. It's still Billy Joel to me.
But then that's kind of
gotta have 8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah.
Wow.
He takes a while.
Oh my God.
But the thing is, he's one of the. I think it's so hard because the last person I would say to really curious was Zappa. Because for me, Frank Zappa started out really. I think he became just very good, like sort of almost like comedy.
And I guess with Zappa, his music was funny because he didn't want to write lyrics. He didn't like lyrics. He didn't want, but so the songs he wrote were just goofy and stupid because that was just what he wrote. Like he is, he was also a classical composer and very, very, huge. But that's the reason that Zappa's songs are so stupid because he didn't want to write lyrics, and it's like you want lyrics, this is what they're going to be.
He's released 14 albums.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, what, Weird Al?
Yeah. The last one was in 2014, so I don't know if he's mainly concentrating on live touring or.
Well, I think what he does is he goes for a while and he really takes his time. And I do know, like Red Hot Chili Peppers they weren't mad at him. They were dying to get covered. They didn't really like the Yubba Yubba Doo Flintstones one. They said, we love Weird Al, but
to be fair, their music's not that great anyway for parody.
They had like
come at me, Flea. Put some pants on.
Come on, man. You're in your 50s and 60s.
Yeah, same people seem like people like them, but they really don't like them. What I found from friends.
Well, yeah. Also, it's like any band that came from one thing and then became a commercial success.
Yeah.
They're always going to have like, well, you know.
And the other one I remember always was I lost on Jeopardy.
That was an L. Yep, that was a the great Greg Kinn classic. Horror author Greg Kinn, because apparently that's what
He's got a radio show too.
At a radio show, yeah.
I think the other thing that people forget is just how entertaining just the titles alone are.
It was just
Let
like
alone the musicianship behind it, but it's like the fact that just the titles are entertaining.
Yeah,
and I think what he does too, for what I heard for his albums, he waits around, he sees like what the trends of music are, and then he starts,
then he'll start
trying to start doing his parody.
When he did that, with the TLC song Waterfalls, and it was "Don't Go Making Phony Calls," talking about just revamps this whole thing about making prank phone calls to people.
White and Nerdy is another.
The line about I get my X-Men comics, I put them in a bag, and I'm like,
Chamillionaire released the video before Weird Al did because he was so excited.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what'd you think of his rapping style? I was like, Jesus, I didn't know he could rap like that.
Really good. Yeah, and that's not
really
easy.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know. Was that the one? I'm trying to remember. No, it was it was Tacky was the one, which was on Happy, which was the video they did. They did a video it was a continuous take, just following people going through this building, coming out of, and the video itself is an amazing video because there's all these people lip syncing the song. They come in, you're going through this building, like up and you're following these people into an elevator and out, and all these different people lip syncing the song. And Weird Al, during this shooting of this video, started at the ground floor of the building, came in, did his thing, then had to go up to the top, go around. Like, the making of the video is incredible because they did it all in one shot, and he had to basically go up, down to one side to the top of the building and down to meet the camera at the end of the video and come back out again. So all these people are coming in and out. Weird Al's just running upstairs, getting in elevators, running around. People are clearing the hall for him, and it just
I got the feeling he's a bit of a control freak with stuff. He's a nice guy, but I bet he's very
probably
when he he wants it done right.
Yeah.
But the thing I'll tell you, like if you watch the Smells Like Nirvana thing, when you first see it, you'll think it's the Nirvana song because he pretty.
That
much
was the other thing too.
Yeah.
And he got the same people. Like from what I understand, I could be wrong, but from what I understand, he got the same actors who played like the cheerleaders and the stuff, and they're the same people. He went and found all the same people so he could make it look the same.
And then he's got like the cow mooing effect, though. Then you know it's different.
Yeah,
well, yeah.
Which is but and they're not always like they said. He could have done that with every song and just make the video like he did that with a few, like with Bad, with Fat, but not always. Like
that was a great video though.
No, the one I'm really not a fan of, and everybody's got their ups and downs on it. I didn't like the one song you did about being stranded at the drive-through because I just thought it went on too long.
What was that?
It was almost like an original song where he's like with somebody trying to order food, and it's like
that was a recent one.
Well, that's another thing we can talk about because everybody knows his parodies, but every album has like 3 or 4 just as many. He's written just as many original songs. That's as parodies, and his original songs are also really good. And he's done tours where he's just done the originals, like he's not done the parody songs, and they're usually like small. He's done some smaller tours. He did a smaller like stripped down tour because his fans wanted to just see all his originals, and he's got tons of them. And they're all really good. They're all really funny. They're well done, and usually they're for him they're style parodies. Yeah. Generally more than like they're not like a straight up music parody. There's a style parody like spend one more minute was I think one of the first ones he did, which is a kind of a 50s love song parody. Where it's I'd rather do all these horrible things and spend one more minute with you, and it's a funny song and it's really well done. And
I haven't heard any of the new album.
Honestly, I haven't heard. I haven't listened to any of the new ones in a long time.
He did a Lorde song.
Yeah, he did.
And then I think a Taylor Swift song.
Too bad there wasn't a contest like when you're doing this that somehow you get Weird Al, you write to him, and you go pick a local band
Yeah.
and parody one of their songs.
Yeah, that's-
So now tell us about the show. Like,
Yeah,
what's it
that's
called?
where I was going. You were
Yeah.
just
What's
first
it
of all,
gonna
how
be?
did you like? You said you wanted to start doing these different shows.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to book a bunch of different type of shows. I just didn't feel like there was enough like of variety for a while. Or you go to a metal show and it's like, oh, metal bands, and it's like, but what about other things? Like, I don't know. I like to mix and match a lot of craps that like probably shouldn't go together.
You ever tried? One thing I just popped in my head just now is like you tell, okay, we'll try to ad lib. We'll give you like a month or so. Here's a theme.
Yeah.
Now pick a song.
I
Like
could
you
do
write
that.
any song you want about like a theme, like cheese or something.
That would be-
Everybody tries
that
to
would
do
be
a song
pretty cool.
because they actually have that thing, I guess, where somebody wrote a song and they hit it at Hochstein. I know I got caught in the traffic last week. They hit it at Hochstein, and one person wrote a song, and 26 musicians would do their versions of it.
Yeah.
What if we had people covering other local band songs and or you had a swap band, or I don't know.
You
that'd
could
be-
call it
Yeah.
Bandception.
Fanception.
Or you take your
Seriously,
songs,
have two
like say for
bands,
example,
Yeah.
swap.
say for example, like
tracks.
you're a metal band, say, but you decide you take one of your songs
cover
and
the
make it like a
Fox Sisters.
disco song.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or what if Fox 45 was covering I don't know, like a Sulaco set instead, or
Oh,
just
geez.
something totally not of your genre.
Well, House Majority,
and
House Majority had a show and they're tuning up. And they started playing, and Corey starts playing one of your songs up. He said, "I'm going,
Yes,
yeah!"
yeah.
And they're like, "Rob knows."
Yeah. But are we? Is it? Are people going to be doing Weird Al songs?
Yes, everybody.
Okay.
So basically, I made the rule. I originally was gonna have this as just I didn't know. I wanted to make a contest show. I didn't know of what until last minute. So I was like, oh wait, but what does everybody love? And a friend and I just looked at each other and we're like, Weird Al.
Everybody loves
Holy
Weird Al.
crap. Okay. So we.
people in
I was
dragons
like, no
love
one's
it.
done a Weird Al cover of a cover show. Or
that-
cover of a cover of a cover show. Technically.
It's layers upon layers,
yes.
people.
Yeah, the onion.
It can't be an outdoor show if it's a cover show, then, right?
And there
Everyone's
it is.
uncovered. I don't know. So we did that, and then I was like, okay, well, there has to be some rule. I didn't
Yeah.
want it where a band is covering a full Weird Al album or a full,
Right.
few songs. I wanted to make it so everybody would have an opportunity or the benefit of the doubt. And I figured, I was like, okay, open mic styles, one or two songs, and 6 people. Give and take the time it takes them to set up and tear it down. You're gonna have about an hour and a half.
Are you going to use any
2-hour
house
show.
people, in terms? I've seen like the Tom Waits show. They had one, they had sort of a one drum. You leave your own equipment, or you have
Yes,
one.
so there is a backline for musicians to use. They just have to bring, their guitar or ukulele or if they're playing a theremin. I don't know. It's basically they could cover any Weird Al
love to
song
see
in
a
any
theremin.
style.
We need a kazoo if it's Weird Al. Is anybody going to play accordion though?
No, I don't. I've only met a couple people that play accordion in my life here.
I know people's fathers who do it.
My
Nobody.
uncle-
Bring your dad. What about the guy? Is
My Uncle
it
Frank
the
did
guy on the
Accordion
street?
open jam.
The guy who on the East End? Is
Oh
that guy
yes,
still there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
Hey,
know.
dude, you want to do a Weird Al show?
But
But, so
do we know? Do you know which? Do we know who we're expecting to
some
see?
musicians, my guitarist Nick Walter and his friend Miles are doing, I believe, "You Don't Love Me Anymore."
Oh, that's
And
another.
that's a
that's
great
the
song.
original.
That's a good one.
And I've
Another
got these 2 girls that play guitar and sing. They do also comedy type shows. Sant You Beer, I believe they're called, and they're really fun. They're great if you ever get to see them. They're doing a cover of My Baloney.
All right.
And then somebody is covering The Saga Begins, I forget. And then, we have one more minute, and I think somebody might be covering Amish Paradise, but there's this, a list of
Yeah.
songs that's being covered, and
Well, yeah.
they're all
Well,
great songs.
let's not give it all away. Let's
Yeah.
just
Well, I
come
can
out
tell
and
you
see
the
it.
one
Yeah.
my experience of putting these together were years ago at the Bug
This sounds
Jar.
awesome.
We started the Valentine's Day massacres, and this was
Yes,
and what happened was this is Heavy Cass, all these people, and this was we had the Megan Taylor rule, and I love you, Megan. I'm LC's, she's in New York. I don't see her as much, but she's still a good friend. But when she was there, we would always go late because she was always late. But when it was wow, when she moved to New York, we were on time. But this was
You have to
putting
be-
this
I don't want to hear you slagging off musicians about being late.
putting this together.
not a
though,
musician.
Well, it
has
depends
ever
on
been
what
late
type
for
of musician,
anything.
though, because if you're a Grateful Dead
Yeah.
jam band musician, you're going to be forever
Yeah.
late.
Keith Richards' time. Did you ever hear about Keith Richards' time where he might, like, if you had practice at 7, he might show up at 2 in the morning. So what they started doing was lying to him.
Yeah, you tell him it's the day before, and then he shows up right on time.
I have people that I have to do that with for
our drummers,
anything.
But like the thing for Valentine's Day Massacre, trying to get these things together, and obviously you picked what songs you wanted to do, trying to get the bands, get them all set up, get everything rolling.
Same
that
thing
was
with
we
gamers.
quit after 10 of them.
Yeah.
Because they were such fun, but it's just
long.
wow.
Yes, yeah.
And they still do stuff like that. But it was I remember trying to get these lineups together, and everybody got to play like 3 songs or so, and everybody wanted to play miserable songs. Nobody wanted to play anything happy.
It's like an open jam. It's like an open mic, you know? You go for a few people, and then it's like, okay, there's 7 more people in line. I'm just gonna. How many more ukuleles can there be? I don't know, or just something like. I usually leave like halfway through an open mic set, but I still like going to open mics though because that's how I got started in playing out. You know, because as a, I started guitar later on in my life than most people. So in order to like get over that stage fright, I was just forced to do open mics with my friends. So I was like,
sometimes you have to, That's the
yeah.
way to do it.
Well, it's harder, in my opinion, to do open mics because it's more intimate and like everyone's staring at you. It's not like you're at a usually a bar where people are occupied or
drunk.
Yeah, or drunk, but like everyone's like there and looking at you.
Pros and cons for that.
No, you start playing, and then when you hear the Freebird, like, oh, geez, come on.
It's like I only have 8 minutes max.
Or like Ryan Adams said, somebody yelled Freebird at a
anyone.
Ryan Adams concert I was at, and Ryan Adams is a guy you don't mess with, so I was hoping he didn't walk off stage. He goes, that would have been more relevant in the 80s when a few of them were still alive. But that's Ryan Adams.
I'm surprised. Maybe it's happened. Somebody yells Freebird, and the guy responds, what kind?
What? Oh, my God.
Why does... And if nobody's used that, if that ever happens to you, use it.
What if every
Canary.
time somebody yelled Freebird that they would actually stop and play all like 14 minutes
That
of
would be
Freebird?
hysterical.
One band did
But like,
start...
that somebody did it every time they would just play Freebird like 20 times
you know
and
what they
everyone
do?
would leave.
Pulling Andy Kaufman where he read the whole Great Gatsby, just play Freebird and going in. But that's a funny, like with Weird Al, can you imagine, I don't see how if you listen to Weird Al you could be depressed.
No.
But you imagine him, damn it, I tried to make a depressing song. You
Even
can't
his
make
slower
depressing.
songs are still funny,
they're all-
because there's
they're all
fucked up
funny.
words in there, or like a good line, or a few.
Yeah.
So it's just like you can never get bored of a Weird Al song.
he parodied a Aussie song back in the day, like one of his albums. I think it was on the same one with
Oh man. Do you ever do the thing
Coolio,
where
and like he turned it into a Christmas song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever do a thing where you still hear a new Weird Al song that you have not heard?
Oh,
yet?
yes.
Oh, yeah,
my
yeah.
God,
Well, there's
I
some,
haven't
yeah.
heard this yet,
Yeah, with that many albums and that many songs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess. Oh, and there was the kind of circling back to the permission thing. There was an infamous Lady Gaga thing where he approached Lady Gaga. He approached her people and then was told that she didn't want him to do a parody of one of her songs, which and it kind of got out there and it got back to Lady Gaga, who had no idea.
Yeah.
She had no idea. It's like it got back. It's like, well. And she was like, no, my management apparently told him. And she was like, I would love him to do one of my songs. And then he did, oh God, what was the one he did? He did, now I'm blanking. He did,
remember.
he did,
Bad Romance.
no, it wasn't Bad Romance. It was,
Bad Romance.
it was, Born Like This.
Born
This Way. And, I can't remember what.
There's only a couple people that are
But he
very
did one,
anal
yeah,
about it. I know Captain Beefheart hated that cover bands were out there of his music.
Yeah.
And Kiss being Kiss, I guess, Gene Simmons, what they did was they told cover bands, okay, if you play free at our conventions, you can do it, because it's Kiss, and Gene's looking for
for a buck.
for anything. He's probably going to send us the thing now, hey, you mentioned me on
But
here.
the Lady Gaga thing, it was very similar to what happened with James Blunt, because his management denied him.
Yeah.
And James Blunt was like, why are you speaking for me?
Yeah, don't speak for me. I would,
because he didn't
please.
mind.
And the other one was like George Lucas could be pretty anal. I guess in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, he said, what am I going to say? These guys were arguing about the color of a lightsaber. I have to let them do it. But I guess he wasn't really super happy with Spaceballs. And I remember reading a Starlog where they asked him, and he said, what did you think of that? And he said, well, I can't do anything about it. It's satire parody.
Yeah.
And it's not like it was done in a mean way. Mel Brooks doesn't do that.
No.
But I mean, some people they're really sort of
they get sensitive.
sensitive. But for example, like Weird Al came to you and said, man, I really dug what you did
I
there.
wanted to cover
I want to cover one of your songs. What would you want him to do?
I would let him. I would be like, yeah.
First, you look at your song titles and go, "What the hell? I can't cover these anyways." Because what was Carl Sagan turned into in Phoenix, Doug? Didn't it? Or something? Or
it got turned into Soul Gormandizer because we wanted a tough sounding name because Carl
Sagan is
wasn't
tough.
And
I'm Carl Sagan. You deny there's planets.
You could totally cover that Carl Sagan song. That would actually be really cool.
And I bet he's into science and stuff too, because he's probably one of those guys who are into it. But
it just makes me think of one of those rap battle videos on YouTube.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, you think a lot of like Weird Al probably like say something like those classic rap battles, which are hilarious if you've ever seen.
Oh my
them.
god!
Yeah,
Epic rap battles of history. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Because they
kill it.
Amazing.
Edgar Allan Poe versus Stephen King, or Hitler versus Darth Vader.
Hitler versus Darth Vader. I think they did 3 of them. They did like a best of 3.
Yeah, they did a best of 3.
I have not actually.
Look up Epic Rap Battle.
It was Jesus versus Santa versus Moses. And Snoop was Moses. Because Snoop is like, dude, I like what they do. I'll give them a little
Snoop
rub.
Snoop is.
So Snoop was Moses being
Snoop is not afraid of just getting into whatever he wants.
Have you ever seen the Snoop,
Best friends with Martha Stewart.
narrated
Dude, he just smoked
like
weed
Animal
from
Channel?
the
Yes,
White House.
that is so
the
funny.
Animal Channel one where Snoop
damn,
is
man.
like, yes,
Oh,
that's
shit.
so funny. He's just narrating like the Animal Channel.
And I think another like son of Weird Al is like Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was
awesome.
Yep. That was it's just funny because parody is a thing. Parody is always relevant by definition. That's it's the one form of comedy that can always be relevant because it's just going to be based on something else.
Yeah.
And every year, I will say, like when I lived in Washington, you see them. They come up here. They play at Nazareth every New Year's Eve. The Capitol steps.
Yeah,
they do like political humor. Like Mark
Right.
Russell was like a master of the political comedy, and they did that. And then you have like another guy who's still around, not the pro wrestler. There's that guy Ray Stevens. Who's still around, but he's gone really sort of right wing on some of his stuff.
I'm sure, but
Yeah.
The dude, the street dude, but now he's like sort of gone really. His videos,
I loved him.
they're very. The thing I think, and I think part of parody.
he was also like a really good musician.
Yeah,
like, he had
everything is beautiful.
hits. Everything is beautiful, misty.
I almost feel like you have to be a good
like
musician
he was
to do
really
parody
like
stuff,
he was just really straight up,
Yeah, I think that's a good point too,
Because
Vicky.
if you're like not a strong musician, you really couldn't do parody stuff.
No.
Because you have to almost know like
You have to
so
play
many
all
genres.
kinds.
Yeah, you have to be able
That's
to do
what you've
different
talked
genres.
about too, is like bringing all these genres.
yeah.
Some people are going to hate you. I have to play jazz. Honestly, I do thrash.
Well, with like the dance,
Exactly.
the show I had that involved dance and theater type of stuff, like some people were like, "Oh, that's not really my thing," I was like, "Well, come after for the bands," because like when
There's
you think
something
about
cool
it, you
about
it.
have people who go to only shows where there's just bands, but I'm like, who goes to burlesque shows or like who goes like why not blend the two or something,
Yeah. Well,
But if you don't like the
we had-
part, don't
we had
come
the
to the
burlesque
first half,
people
like-
on here, and we had the head of the museum,
Yeah,
and they were talking about you're going to have burlesque at a museum.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that in the future at the Rochester
That's
Museum
awesome.
of Science Center.
Oh, that's
Burlesque
great.
meets science. Apparently, it might be in the
And I will
works.
say, one of the
It
best
worked.
ballets I ever saw was the Blood Countess, which is.
I wish I saw that.
You were too young, I think. That was a
Oh,
while
I know,
back.
but I know a lot of people.
It was
they're like,
beautiful,
that's really
though.
Good.
It was one of those combinations. The ballet was beautiful. They had lighting. They had all these. It was just, and it all worked great. And I've been to shows. I've worked on shows where we couldn't line up the. So I know how it is. But it was just done so perfect, and Tara was just so good in it, and it was just, and everything. It was,
I've
they had
never
those,
seen a ballet.
Oh,
I haven't.
You should.
I really haven't. either.
ballet nowadays.
I don't have anything
It's
against
a
it.
lot-
I
I've
go
just
to
never seen
punk
it.
shows and I go to ballet. And I remember the Kratz
Zach also
band.
doesn't do anything.
I remember the Kratz band. It's like I was
that.
going to see a ballet, and I was mentioning the Kratz band. Dude, that's hardcore.
There is a hardcore voracious fan base for everything.
Oh,
Yes.
exactly.
Well, in
And
ballet
that's
now
what's
too,
beautiful
with
about
like
the world.
utilizing technology, there's been a lot more like use for it. I feel
Yeah.
because people go to festivals now and people want to see entertainers and stuff, and now it's like, oh yeah, there's people who do ballet. Like, well, let's use them for something.
You do realize with
Yeah.
the way everybody's going and the way society's going with wanting to be entertained, we are going to go back to the days of the
Yeah.
wandering minstrel.
That's I think that's great.
Within our lifetime, we will see the wandering minstrel return.
I mean, busking has gotten, busking
Busking
has
has
always
picked
been a
up.
thing, but busking is big now, in a lot of urban centers, and and to an extent where it's gone from grabbing a street corner to being licensed and protected, and and people will there's an up and down to the whole thing about licensing buskers. I think it's largely really though for their own protection.
Yeah.
I
too.
agree.
Yeah.
And the protection of their art. So
Yeah, we have like our best busker contest here.
yeah,
You know, then we've had the things happen where you'll get like name bands and it never works because what happens is people will find out and they'll go crazy. But like a name band, like the Rolling Stones would always try to pick be like red something in blue, and people will get they go play a couple like pubs or bars and warm up. But then everybody would know and be a madhouse. And I guess there's a story about Led Zeppelin. They tried to go around doing this, but it just got. So many people want to go in, and Paul McCartney wanted to do with the Beatles. He wanted to just get in a van, drive around England, and play gigs. Could you imagine? Like you're sitting, you're sitting like down, and all of a sudden, wait a second, that dude looks like Paul. Hey, I'm Paul. You aren't Paul McCartney.
I had heard him. Yeah, when he recently when he was interviewed with Stern, he asked him about that, and he said, "I wanted to do that, but he was like, either him or John wanted to do it, and it's like we can't." We can't do that. We're now past that being able to do that. Someone will find out. We don't look like anybody else.
Zeppelin, I guess
we can't just go into a place. That's over.
Yeah.
And
could you imagine, because there's a story about Charlie Chaplin entering a Chaplin lookalike contest and finishing third. But could you imagine, like some bands, hey guys, you want to do this? Okay, they have a tribute show to us. Why don't we show up?
Yeah.
And then like, hey, you guys suck.
Yeah.
Well, I was just watching a YouTube video on Charlie Chaplin, and to be honest, I think his roots mainly he was more of a dancer, like performer.
Oh yeah,
that was ballet.
Yeah, because back then you had to do more of the movement for your body versus like the technology that they had back in the day. So
what you were saying goes back to school. Whoever wrote this paper doesn't know a damn thing about Kurt Vonnegut.
Another thing, Vonnegut, I'm canceling the check. Fuck me, fuck you. I'm getting Robert Hillenburg.
You read lips?
That was actually my introduction to Kurt Vonnegut, but I remember
back to
his
school?
son. Yeah, it was back to school. And
me too.
Then I got his books though. But he's talking to his son, and he's like, "How am I going to write this? You got to put on Kurt Vonnegut." Here's a knock on the door. Hi, I'm Kurt
Vonnegut. I'm looking for.
And then the teacher and another thing. Whoever you got to write this paper knows nothing about Kurt Vonnegut. It's almost like the Woody Allen thing in Annie Hall when the guy's talking in line about Marshall McLuhan, and he's, why are these guys going to be in line? Hey, I'm a professor at NYC, Oh, really? Well, I have Mr. McLuhan here, and he pulls him out from behind a tree. You know nothing of my work. But since we have you here, too, before we, wrap up and tell about more of the show, your opinion on Star Wars a little bit, because we've been... Me and Patrick and everybody else here, it's in the news obviously now, and
the new Star Wars.
No, it came out the last movie.
Yeah,
now came
I don't know
out.
what to think about it. I don't know.
No, but what do you think? I mean, you like the latest
the new
things
Star Wars?
or anything?
I have. I'm lame and have not kept up and watched The Mandalorian, so I don't really know.
That's the one we have to bring up for a second.
Zach hadn't heard of it.
Because he was saying
heard of
it. No,
you can explain a little, because I've heard it's actually I have not seen it, and we didn't when we had our Star Wars episode, and I'm sure there'll be more in a long time ago or a time ahead, but we did not bring up The Mandalorian and how you think it's really good.
I really liked it. The general consensus is
it like the storyline? When does this take place?
Okay,
Besides when Yoda's a baby.
The Mandalorian. It's not, but that's
it
does not take place when Yoda's a baby. He is also not baby Yoda. It takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
So, and it takes place out in the Outer Rim, which is the outskirts of the galaxy, which is all the they hire this bounty hunter who's the Mandalorian. He gets hired by these ex-Imperials to find a person. They say, well, we can't tell you anything more about this person other than they're 50 years old and they're somewhere out. They give him a vague direction. Mm-hmm. He finds this person, and it turns out that this 50-year-old person is a baby of the same species as Yoda. So we don't know. Okay. Yoda's species never had a name. There's been only two characters in the movies of that race, because there was a Jedi Master in Phantom Menace called Yaddle, who was like a female version of Yoda, who you only saw in that movie, never said anything, and we're just talking just outside of the movies.
There's not many of them.
Yeah. So and Luke, one of the things that Lucas had instructed anybody who was writing about Star Wars expanded universe stuff was that his species is mysterious. His species does not have a name. Nobody knows anything about them.
And then they immediately started to come up with a backstory because that's what Hollywood does.
No, but it sounds like almost like what if I was casting this, if this was years ago,
So
I would have said
he's
said this would have been like a spaghetti western with Clint Eastwood almost.
Yes, and it's very much Western themed. It's got he's kind of like the man with no name. You don't know anything about him. You don't really even learn his real name.
I think
until
the man
like
with
the
no
last
name
couple
went through a desert with his horse one time too.
And you never see his face. Then this whole thing about in his culture that no one, if anyone sees his face, he can no longer.
He's a luchador wrestler.
Exactly.
They turn into Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
it's very big. No living person can see his face.
What?
Or he will never be able
And
I
admit I was thrown for a loop when I
again.
saw the ads because I go, wait a second, is this Boba Fett? Because it looks like the
Yeah, it
costume.
looks like Boba Fett. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So there's a huge there's a huge backstory for it. Like basically this armor basically set off a whole backstory about where it came from, and then the Mandalorians are not a culture, really, not even a race. They're a culture of warriors who have this metal called that they call Beskar, which is it's a really strong metal. It's resistant to blasters and lightsabers. It's like the strongest metal, and they know how to make armor out of it. And their culture is kind of based around this. And a lot of things happened, and they're over time they basically kind of bring in they a lot of their culture is foundlings. They bring in people and they become adopted into this culture. And there's a lot of like, go on YouTube.
Any
Ask
familiar
about Mandalorian.
I'll ask about there's any familiar faces like from the canon in there?
Not in the first series, but apparently
Or is there a Sarlacc pit though or something?
No, they did. There is an episode that takes place on Tatooine, and you kind of see what Tatooine is like after the Empire, and things have changed.
You realize you're in the same universe. But the only thing I'll ask you about Star Wars, do you have a favorite, like in terms of movies or
Star Wars? Oh, of course, I would love the originals, but then I love the terrible,
the prequels,
the holiday film.
I
watch it every year. I do. I watch it every year.
Hey, that doesn't exist. You know that.
If George Lucas had anything to say, even those pirated copies that got out wouldn't exist.
I know nothing of what you
Someone
speak, sir.
made those movies with his name,
Oh yeah,
no, but when you,
it was a second,
I didn't know because remember when you were here for the Star Wars thing, you're like, oh, the Mandalorian. I'm like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck?
It's just so. It's just and it's
Because I'd seen the Baby Yoda memes. It's like new marketing ploy for more money. That's all I thought.
He comes from the planet Henson. Run by the great Oz, up with his hand up his butt.
Traditionally bought by Google. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Pepsi presents.
But as we go full circle and everything, one thing we wanted to make sure we brought up is I've been to this venue. It's become talk about a comedy album.
Yeah.
It's become a comedy album finding this place.
So, okay, everybody knows where Bug Jar is.
It's Union Street.
It's technically Union, but I always tell everyone go down Griffith because it is like a weird one way.
Yeah.
To I don't know, one of the streets is one way, which is Union, and but that part of Union, and so it's on that old part of Union that's only still one way, and it's like kitty cornered, I guess, to Bug Jar. It's literally just like a big, like a black block building. It looks like nothing when you, if you go there at night, especially.
What's the name of it?
It's just 143 South Union
And
Street.
if you're desperate, stop in the Bug Jar and ask my friend Oz if he's at the door because I
tell him
told
to point you to that general
and he'll send you to some restaurant. Mean.
Basically, it's the dumpster behind.
What you got to do is you got to get on 90 and start heading east.
I always just say go down Griffith. That's just the easiest way. Or park on South Union and then walk. It's right at the corner. But I guess it also used to be the old Joywave practice space.
Okay.
So some people know it as that. I don't really know because I don't really care about.
No, because there's a couple of these places around that I've had a lot of problem finding.
Yeah.
There's one place
there's no like parking either, which sucks.
Which is, well,
It's the
lately,
city.
like over the holidays, I had a lot of problems parking down there. But, you just go around and you find a place. I mean, you could park if the lot's there, or you can just try to park there. Depends. And I think January, I don't think as much is going on, too. So it's a good time to have this. And I don't think it's going to be as like the holidays. There was like the demo show with Amanon.
Yeah.
I left. I couldn't even.
Was it packed? Oh,
it was just literally, I couldn't even find I literally went around the block 2 times. And then I ended up walking. I just ended up parking on East and walking because I couldn't even park.
Well, that's how the Black Magic show was. It was just packed because that place can only hold
the only
like
thing
60
for me
people.
that I was like one of those lucky people though, because I was over at the Crown at a show before that, and I left. It was good old Tommy and his Bob's band. And then I left to see you, and I came down there and I actually found a spot.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice. I never find spots over there, so.
Yeah, sometimes I don't. I mean, for all your gigs, they're always sold out and everything,
No,
so we
they're
can't have there's like nobody there, in terms of parking or anything.
Well, so there's that show this coming Saturday, and then
this is the 25th.
The 25th.
This is out. You'll be hearing this.
This will be out.
And then there's going to be another show. I'm trying to book a show, something every month there, even if it's not a show. And the following month in February on the 28th, we're doing not acoustic metal, but it's like acoustic, semi-unplugged band. So Fox 45 is going to be mostly unplugged. Amanda's playing her upright, and we have a violinist for that day. And we have this other band that's like Viking metal rock, but it's
I have an idea.
So,
no,
it's going to be a really cool show.
It just hit me. We have we try to bring people together. We try to bring all the different things together. Patrick, talk to people. What we do, we get metal. Somebody does Shakespeare lyrics to metal.
That is, yeah.
We'll bring our lute.
I guarantee you, someone has done that, but I'm sure not a lot of people have
my
done
God,
that.
Plays the thing to catch the conscious of the kingdom.
I would hate to memorize Shakespeare. Is there anyone that knows it at least ahead of time?
This guy.
Okay, we'll
I
bring you
can
on.
memorize it. I have
like,
memorized
I will never be able
Can
to
I do
memorize.
it right now? No, because when I'm literally when I'm done with something, it has to empty out of my head, or else I can get the next.
I can do my pretentious, like what I've
And
done.
I'm old
I've done
now,
to,
so-
unfortunately,
but yeah.
I've done to my actor friends. Well, I know this line, and then I do one line, and they'll rattle off the whole thing. And you're like, why did I do it?
I
know
can't do that
the
anymore.
lingo.
Or you remember the whole idea of like Robin Williams' thing about Sylvester Stallone as Hamlet? To be or would.
Yeah,
No, we'll just have William Shatner do Shakespeare. That'll be awesome.
William Shatner did. He was
So
he
one
was
song
the
for the
premier
whole
Shakespeare.
So one
actor?
song for it'll be one song for the whole night because it'll take him to be or not to be.
We could do the best Shakespeare, or not Shakespeare, or we could do the best Shatner cover show. That'd be a really
You can
good.
do-
Put
yeah.
out, he put
All
out
right,
a
maybe I'm
punk
pushing
album.
it, right?
No, you're pushing. That's the thing.
Well,
I
it's the
think
thing,
it's
but he
cool to
doesn't,
come
you
up
know.
with these ideas. You go. I think it starts with what if. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
why don't we put this in?
This
and
is also a cool way to introduce people to local bands they might not
different
things.
know
Yeah.
because they'll
Yeah.
hear a hook of something. Oh, I'd like to see that,
Yeah.
and then they see this band like, oh, I really
That's
like
why
their
I
sound.
wanted to do the acoustic kind of metal show because a lot of people want to come to my shows, but they're not into harder, heavier music.
Well, I've
So-
gotten people to come to your shows by saying,
They're
you-
like, bring your plugs.
no, when I said, oh, what do they sound like? Who do you like?
Wow.
ABBA. Oh, yeah, they're exactly like ABBA. And then they would look at me when they come down. Well, they're having a little different night. They're experimenting. But that's like the one thing I could say from theater and all the years of theater.
Yeah.
I'll have my friends do it, and you'll go, okay, they'll do classics. They'll do but then you go, damn, now they're really going out there and trying this
Yeah.
way out thing, this different thing.
Well, the thing
and
is-
people who come and see, and they realize it's all good stuff.
Well, and also, you might not realize you like that kind of stuff
Yeah.
until you just go. Like, some people, I don't know, Rochester's semi-conservative, but not. Like,
It's-
people want to go to their
it's
group
more
things.
conservative than
yeah,
you
it's
think.
very
No, it's.
niche.
I think what it is. I've always said because I was actually talking to my friend the other night about us in high school, how much I got my guts hated by a lot of people because of my music taste. I was talking to Count Mike, saying I was sort of the pariah. But there's I've met a lot of friends because we've gone around and we end up going to the same things because it's like a little tribe of people who like and willing to try this stuff. Now, a lot of people, if you go out there, you see just the average, like the taste
Yeah.
of it. But there's enough people to support this stuff.
Yeah, see, I just
Yeah.
think my problem, I just get bored and I always ask why not, so that's why I just do
That's the best
random
question.
shows,
You know what? Really, the best question in life is not to say why, but to say why not.
Why not?
I mean, you should do a whole thing on Daenerys Targaryen. A whole.
We almost got through a whole
theme,
show,
a
Zach.
whole
Why would that
theme
be a whole-
about.
what
There's like a
happened to
rock
Kingdom
opera,
Universe?
No,
a
that's-
rock
never
opera
mind.
about it.
You know,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
know.
That'd be
Oh, I know.
sweet.
See, she agrees.
I was
She's got
right.
taste.
I don't know much about opera, but I'm sure I can.
I can't remember if you said it. What time does it start on the 25th?
So 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm trying to make
I
winter
have
shows
to ask the
early.
question.
You know, I
Get
don't
the
wanna be
details
late
out so I don't
The
forget
question
to write
I
them
have
out.
to ask is, when you say 8, because we know how these go. I had one held
No,
up
it
by
is 8.
depressed Bills fans the other week.
Oh,
We couldn't-
jeez.
No, literally, Maybert was
I'm
going to
gonna
play.
worry
I'm
about that
talking
this
with
week.
Josh.
Bills time.
You know, I'm talking with Josh. We're sitting there, and these people. Okay, I'm sorry for you. It's just a game, though. These
Yeah.
people were so.
Oh,
That's all they
depressed.
have.
Yeah.
We've been to
Well, those
Buffalo.
tickets are
Yeah, I mean,
expensive.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But I mean,
totally
really,
understand.
it is. I'm sorry for you, but in the end, you got to tell you, so it's just a game.
just
But
a
people
game,
were
yeah.
like overly depressed.
Yeah.
You know, so
Everybody got their thing, man.
yeah,
It's a wicked pisser.
yeah. But so 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock,
8
yes.
o'clock.
And then after, at midnight, it'll be free and open to everybody just to come in and have open jams. Bring your theremins and triangles and plug in.
But
Bring your
just
things.
theremins and triangles.
No wash.
No other
Now,
instruments.
I will say,
Yeah.
anybody listening out there, if you can play an accordion, have an accordion, come on down.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
we
have
want-
an
yeah,
accordion.
There's no
We
wash
need
tub
you.
Yeah.
basin.
You need somebody over there.
guitars.
Somebody, yeah.
Also, if you just look like Weird Al, if you are Weird Al, just
Yeah,
come.
it's like,
come.
Or
I
if
don't
you're
have an
Weird
accordion,
Al,
but I have a concertina.
if
Is
you
that okay?
happen
No.
to be
And the only
Weird
thing I'll
Al,
ask
If you
about
dress
is,
like Weird Al, you get in for free.
and the only thing I'll ask is, some guys will be coming in. Oh, you get it free. I look Weird
If you
Al.
are Weird Al, you get in for free.
And the only thing I was gonna say, how's the Fox 45 album coming? Is it big?
So that is what we're focusing mainly on this year. We just Amanda was on hiatus for a while. She
Yeah.
went to Spain.
I know, I
and
saw
I
it.
also have been in the wintertime. We just slow down. That's why
Yeah.
I'm like, I want early shows. I don't want to be out past midnight. Like 8 o'clock, we're starting at 8. Like, so for the Fox 45, we're focusing on getting the album out this year. We just had to find a new distro label, so that's what held so much back, and what that I didn't realize could hold a lot back. But we do have plans for some festivals towards September.
And I will say this is going to be heavy.
Yeah.
This is very heavy.
It's a lot heavier. It's definitely more. I lean it more towards the psychedelic side of rock, but it's still like it's a lot
It's
like our
sludge,
old stuff, but still heavy.
psychedelic, bit of everything,
Yep.
sort of jammy.
And it's more of a storyline. I realized for this whole album, so that's the thing that's really different.
Well, I
about
go
it.
to every show. I know the songs.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I know we're not trying. We still have a few in the vault too, so we're not.
I remember the one show I'll just with like this one where they were playing. There's something with the sound, and
Yes.
Amanda looks at it goes, Rob's heard it all before. Let's go.
Yeah, at
It's
that
like Rob
point.
Nelson.
Like you look out, it's like, God damn it.
Yeah,
Like,
we
now
always have issues with sound. It's just we're loud, you know. We have half stacks and minimal. So
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
but everybody, this is going to be actually. It's a dead of winter. It's Rochester, so it's horrible out. So it's,
It's
gonna be
Rochester, so
loads
it's
of fun to
horrible
come
out
out.
in June.
well, it was
Yeah.
weird. It was funny to find.
It was weird. Yeah, it's going
No,
to be
no,
weird.
it
It's going to be weird,
this,
folks.
This weather was weird, but it was really hard to find bands that actually wanted to do the metal acoustic
it's
show.
gonna be
'Cause I guess
awesome.
a lot of metal bands, it's really hard
weather
to
is
switch over.
No, I'm not.
No,
but it's
yeah.
not. You think actually you go back to the '90s or something, and even they had like really not hardcore metal, but like a Tesla would do the unplugged. All these bands did unplugged, and a lot of these songs.
the
It's
Unplugged
amazing
series.
how the metal it goes over fine.
Yes, it's basically.
No,
classical.
Tell them to try it; they'll like it.
I know. It might hurt their fingers. I don't know. It was a lot. It was
suck
actually
it up,
really
buttercups.
difficult to find bands that want to switch
No,
their
people
set
will
over
find
to
they really. And a
acoustic.
lot of people, when they can just do what they want to do and let loose, they'll just enjoy it. The only thing I have to say too is like Patrick, it's coming up eventually. Due to various reasons, the trilogy is postponed for a little while for D&D, but it's coming and it will.
We're
continue.
hiatus,
Yeah,
and
we're-
unlike
yeah.
TV show hiatus, we will be back.
Yeah, we've had literally tragedies and wonderful things
And everything in
holding up.
between.
And everything in
Yeah.
between.
And plus, I heard there's like going to be the great blizzard of 2020 on that
Yeah.
day. So
Literally, yeah, we literally
we'd have to eat
we
Patrick's.
literally had a
Patrick,
birth
we'd have
and
to
a
eat-
death.
We'd have to
keep
eat.
this from happening.
We'd get stuck in Patrick's house and have to eat his cats. And I don't want to do that. I like cats.
Eat Charlie
I'm
first.
not-
Eat
not
them
out.
before they eat you.
I could make a joke, but I won't.
Eat Charlie first. He's the biggest and most annoying.
Oh.
Anyway,
I'm not Elf, damn it.
but yeah, so that's going to happen again. I do have something to plug. And as I speak, there are things in flux with this. But I am going to be hosting a podcast. I'm hoping that the episodes will start being able to hit the internet like late spring, early summer. I don't have I don't have an official name for it yet.
Son
Hopefully
of the carnival.
Yeah, it will be
Carnival
The
Spawn.
sideshow of hilarity.
this will be a sister show, I guess.
We're
as
all related down here.
we are. It's going to be an actual play Dungeons and Dragons podcast that is going to take place in a fantasy world that does not yet exist because we haven't made it yet. So
Tallahassee?
who knows?
I had to throw a Florida joke in.
We are going to start creating the world today. The whole concept behind it is about collaborative world building. So because I don't have the time and focus to create a massive homebrewed fantasy setting, I'm going to take it upon myself and my players to build it from the ground up, and while we play. So the world will, when the adventure first starts, it will take place in a world that is largely unknown. There will be elements of it that we haven't come up with yet. So as we go, we will be telling our story, our character's story, and the story of this world we're building as we go. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun, and my focus is to make it fun and entertaining, fun to listen to, funny, exciting, adventurous, and might take place, might take place in multiple worlds. It might, the idea is it could shift genres, it could shift games.
Will you have the
Sounds like a lot of
token
fun,
schmuck
actually.
that'll die randomly in it?
Probably. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot of fun, though. It sounds like it's creativity. It sounds
Yes,
awesome. It's like
yeah.
Vicky. You should tune in on everything.
So,
So
hopefully
stay tuned
I'll
for that.
have
a
More
title
news,
for
more
this
news
too.
will happen.
Would you ever be interested in playing like one of these games sometime?
I wanted to get back into playing D&D. I used to play at Millennium when I went to MCC a long time ago.
Maybe join our quest later on.
And
We might have people who
yeah,
I've tried,
we
but
might-
I was
yeah,
so
we might
weak
have
and
to
eager,
sub
I died
somebody
off
in.
very
Yeah.
early. Based on a stupid decision
What kind of
making.
stupid person who died off early?
I died off very early because I'm a very big risk.
You died off midway.
I'm
Midway
always
through the
good
second
for
episode.
edition, though.
I'm like the person.
How
in the
many of
group
you
that
people are
is,
saying,
like,
"Oh, it's
sword
impossible
happy.
to die
It's
in
not.
this edition"?
It's not. It was all Frank's fault though, because I watched it recently because I was watching it in preparation for running again, and it
And
it
by
is
the way,
so funny.
Frank, congratulations.
And
I'm
congratulations.
coming for you.
Yeah, congratulations on the birth of your son, and yeah,
and
will-
come
we
see
will.
this
I would
damn
love
show.
to.
It's going to
I would
be. You
definitely
want
love
some humor
Oh
in
yeah,
the
they
middle
will
of
be
winter?
vendors too.
Yeah, there'll be vendors.
Yeah,
Come
there'll
see
be
the
vendors.
show.
Saturday,
But
25th, 8 o'clock,
as we
143
don't want to
South
get
Union.
arrested by Weird Al or anybody, I tried to find a humorous song that would go along with this. And this is a very divisive time, and people don't like you, which is horrible. But I think everybody agrees nobody dislikes Velveeta and Spam. So this is the band Enough's, an old band I've known, friends of mine, good friends. It's called Velveeta and Spam, and I think it's in the heart of this. So
yeah.
come see the show and bring your accordion, dude.
And on that one, Mazel Tov.
This is the story of all